Last summer, it was announced that USC and UCLA would be joining the Big Ten. Last summer, it was kind of hard to imagine these two schools on the field. Now, it's a lot easier to picture with Big Ten opponents and schedules being revealed on Thursday. You can see who USC is going to play at the Coliseum, who UCLA is going to play at the Rose Bowl, and what a 9-game, no-division scheduling model is going to look like. I am here for it, and I am pumped about it. Before I get into my reaction about the Big Ten schedules and opponents reveal from Thursday, just a reminder to hit subscribe if you haven't already. Big Ten content all offseason long. Always crush that like button to spread the word of Big Ten TED to the masses. I am pumped about this scheduling model. I think it's very difficult to make everybody happy in today's day and age, really, of society, of life, and especially of sports, of college football, of Big Ten football. But I believe Tony Petitti, Gene Smith, and everybody else involved in the meeting rooms that put this scheduling model together made a lot of people happy. There's not a ton of complaining on Twitter. There's a lot of anticipation. There's a lot of, let's play these games right now. Let's play USC and Wisconsin right now. Let's play UCLA and Penn State right now. There's a lot of excitement. There's a lot of anticipation. And I am one of those people that love the scheduling model. And I believe the Big Ten maybe has the best scheduling model in all of college football. And they got it right. In Tony Petitti's really first big announcement, really first kind of big thing, he hit it right on the button. I don't think there's any question about that. Let's quick go over the bullet points. Elimination of divisions. No more East, no more West, no more imbalance in terms of the divisions in the Big Ten Conference. The top two teams with the top conference records will go on to play each other in the Big Ten Championship. Yes, that means you could see Ohio State and Michigan in back-to-back weeks. Each Big Ten team will play every other team in the Big Ten every 2 seasons, right? No more of Little Brown Jug, Michigan and Minnesota not being played for 4 years or 5 years or sometimes 6 years, where sometimes certain Big Ten teams wouldn't play each other. Now you have a lot more diversity in scheduling. You're going to play a lot more of the Big Ten Conference than you are used to. I think the first thing that I really want to cover on what I love so much about this scheduling announcement is the Big Ten isn't forcing rivalries. Okay, with USC and UCLA coming to the conference, you might think, well, you want to try to get them over here. You might want to play them every year. Hey, let's try to schedule them against this team every year to see if we can really make that a rivalry. It makes sense. I've mentioned USC and Michigan State, Spartans versus Trojans, but they're not forcing rivalries, and that's, I think, what I love most about this scheduling model. The great thing about rivalries is they happen naturally. Sometimes you know this with some of these weird trophy games in the Big Ten Conference, that things can form very organically, very naturally, and you wouldn't expect them to form that way. That's the only way these things can happen, if you let them play out on the football field. And I love protecting the key matchups, 11 key matchups. I had 12. The only one that the Big Ten chose that I thought, that I tweeted yesterday, that I thought was a must play was Ohio State and Penn State. They don't have a huge, long history. It's not a trophy game, so I don't think it's a huge deal for them not to play every single year. Now it's an every other year kind of thing for the Buckeyes and the Nittany Lions. The first thing I want to dive into is those protected games. 11 protected games, and they are some big-time rivalries. Now, it's kind of a quasi 3-6-6 scheduling model. It's like a 3-6-6 every 2 years. And then you kind of rotate some of those teams, like you kind of see in this scenario. USC is going to have that protected game. All the protected games are in white. Then you have games against Penn State, a home and home against Penn State, and against Wisconsin. Those teams in blue are going to rotate out every couple of seasons. And I like doing it every 2 years, because it allows you to kind of look back. It allows you to kind of reset and think, well, this rivalry works. And this maybe doesn't. Hey, let's play more of Nebraska and UCLA. Let's play more of, let's keep the Yellow Buck game. Let's keep Illinois, and let's keep Ohio State. It really allows the Big Ten to take a look at the landscape of what's happening and how these rivalries are developing, especially for USC and UCLA. Right, if USC and Wisconsin have some really competitive games, and who knows, maybe in 2025, that game maybe decides who goes to the Big Ten championship game. That might be a rivalry that the Big Ten Conference might want to extend into the future. That's what I love about the scheduling model, and I'm going to repeat it because that's how awesome I think it is. I love how you're protecting the must-play games, and then you're rotating out in a quasi every 2 year 3-6-6 type of scheduling model. It allows for a lot of flexibility within the Big Ten Conference, and I am a huge fan of that. Now, there are some very intriguing matchups when you look at the schedules in 2024 and 2025. There are some very fun matchups. Now, before I get into the schedules, I'm going to talk about 2024. I'm going to talk about 2025. I just want to touch on a few key things of what this scheduling model really means. The Big Ten West teams are going to be tested. For years now, we've heard just how much better the Big Ten East is than the Big Ten West. And when you win every single matchup of the Big Ten championship game, East versus West, they're going to look to make it a perfect 10-0 this season and wrap it up undefeated double digits against the West. When you hear that year after year after year, especially this last year, all of that Big Ten West slander, now you got to put your money where your mouth is. Big Ten West, for folks that have defended the Big Ten West, for those Big Ten West teams, now you're going to have to go out there and prove it, because you aren't just going to be worried. Now you just don't have just those 3 crossover games against the East. Sometimes you might have 4 games against those East teams, 5 games. And then you throw in USC and UCLA. Like, this is a lot different than the Maryland and Rutgers edition, folks. These are, USC is an elite football program, and UCLA is going to make things that much tougher for those top tier 2 teams, because they're right there, 8 or 9 wins with your Minnesotas, with your Iowas, with your Wisconsins, with your Illinois. Nebraska is hoping that they get up there under Matt Rule. It makes the Big Ten that much deeper, and it makes those TV matchups all that more intriguing. I'm sure Fox, CBS, and NBC love all of this as well. But if you want to compete, if you want to go to Indianapolis, and you want to go to the Big Ten championship game, you're going to have to compete on the recruiting trail, in the transfer portal, with the Buckeyes, with the Wolverines, with the Nittany Lions, with the Trojans, because those 4 programs, that's going to be your tier 1. Those are the teams that are going to be at that elite level that are going to have a consistent chance to make it to the Big Ten championship game. And as long as I'm talking about the culmination of our conference schedule, the Big Ten championship game, that game is going to mean so much more now, because 2024 starts the 12-team college football playoff. The winner of that game is likely going to get a first-round bye as one of the top 4 conference champions. The loser may have to go on the road in the first round of the playoffs. So I think that really just heightens the importance of the Big Ten championship game even more. Now let's dive into some schedules, folks. Let's dive into the nitty-gritty. Let's dive into what's going to happen on the football field in 2024. You know, a couple of schedules in some of these years really stood out to me. We talked before about some of those Big Ten West teams and what they're going to have to do, the level that they're going to have to step up in order to get to that championship level. Like, you look at 2024, look at Wisconsin having to play Michigan, having to play USC, right? Both of those games are on the road, and then having Penn State at home, right? Those crossover games, right? That would be a crossover, right? Those aren't your normal Big Ten West teams. That's tough for the Wisconsin Badgers, even in year 2 under Luke Fickell. As much as I love Luke Fickell and what I think he's going to do at Wisconsin, that's extremely tough. Look at Illinois. They have a same type of schedule. They got to play Michigan. They got to play USC. Okay? And they got to play Ohio State. Ohio State and USC on the road. These schedules are going to get a whole lot tougher for those Big Ten West teams, and they're going to have to be prepared to play with the elite of the elite in college football. This is what happens when you're not just playing your group of teams. When you have more diversity in scheduling, you're going to play some of the big boys in college football more often. So we're really going to find out where these West Division teams really stack up. This 2024 schedule, I think, is very intriguing. I think you're going to see some teams rise up, and maybe you're going to see some teams maybe make a dip in 2024. Let's talk about 2025. That schedule was also released today. The one that I zeroed in on was the USC Trojans in 2025. They got to go on the road to Minnesota. They got to go on the road to Wisconsin. Big Ten, you know what to do. You have a responsibility to have USC go to Huntington Bank Stadium, go to the Snowbank, go to Camp Randall in the second week of November, in the third week of November. Come on, Big Ten. Come on, Tony Petitti. Make it happen. Make it happen. I'd love to see that. Will it happen? Maybe not. You got to think those games might be scheduled sometime in September and October, but maybe they'll ease the Trojans in, and boy, wouldn't you love to see USC in a Snow Bowl against Minnesota over there in 2025. Folks, this is great for the conference. This is fantastic for the conference. You know, I just wanted to touch on a few more things here. What this announcement really tells me, and you've got these 9 conference games all scheduled out home and away, this tells me no further expansion in the near future. Now, could they come back and maybe do something? Sure, but it would look very odd. And why wouldn't they just wait if maybe they had Oregon and Washington on the mind? This tells me no expansion in 2024, and that really kind of changes things in terms of the landscape of college football and realignment as it pertains to at least the very near future and what's going on over there in the Pac-12. I believe that they're going to get their travel figured out, right? What are the logistics with USC? What are the logistics with UCLA? Do things work? Can we add more West Coast teams after a couple of years go by? Where are we going to feel? How are we going to feel? I think easing ourselves into it with just USC and UCLA, and it goes beyond football. I think football is maybe the easiest. You play one game, you travel out there, you come back. Basketball is going to be tough. Some of these other non-revenue sports where you're playing a couple of games during the week, I think that's where the real challenges in scheduling are really going to come. And keep an eye. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we all know the Big Ten's number one candidate for expansion is Notre Dame. That NBC deal, you're going to see a couple of years of Big Ten Saturday night with these schedules that you just saw. Where is NBC going to be, especially considering the move that was announced where Jack Swarbrick is going to be retiring? You got an NBC guy coming in to be the new athletic director at Notre Dame. Watch out for the Irish. Watch out once we get to 2026. I know there's a lot of legal stuff that has got to happen, but watch out. We'll see what happens and what dominoes fall with all the things at NBC. I want to hear what you guys think. What do you think of this Big Ten scheduling announcement? Do you love the model? Do you hate the model? Did your team get a tough draw? Did they get a pretty good draw? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below about everything Big Ten opponents. Big Ten scheduling. I can't wait. Let's play football right now. I don't care if it's June. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm Big Ten Ted. We'll see you in the next one.